And first, I want to thank my sponsors, Steve Aguado, for the banner y'all see on the wall behind me, and also Justin Womack from the Garage Factory for the chain that y'all see me rocking at the tournament. So if anybody need a team chain, turnover chain, a defensive chain, offensive chain, y'all can holler at Justin Womack. He does some of the best work around. So now we want to get into it. We have a former D1 pitcher from Incarnate Word. Also, now she's a assistant coach for Strikers 2K13. Mata, want to welcome Maddy Mata to the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Maddy.
Maddy, first you want to start off talking about your upbringing and the different sports you played growing up.
Yeah, so it was always me and my sister because we are 6 months apart. So Riley Mata, and we kind of did everything. Believe it or not, we danced until we were like 12, and then it kind of started interfering with softball. And my dad was like, "Yeah, no, not doing it anymore." We did basketball. We played competitive soccer. We did indoor and outdoor. We did volleyball. We kind of did it all, honestly. And then once we kind of got, I guess I would say like our second year 12s is when we kind of were just like, softball's the way we're going to go. We're not going to kind of play anything else. And we just did softball from there on out. And that's what we did.
Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't expecting you to say dance.
I can't dance now and I'm not flexible. So I don't know where it all went. But
So to start off, let's get into your recruiting process and what made you choose Incarnate Ward.
yeah, so I didn't commit until they had first made the like September 1st of your junior year. I was still kind of in my recruiting process when that happened. I had gotten some looks from a few small schools, and early on though, I kind of knew, and my parents were just kind of like brutally honest with me that like, you're not probably going to go to like a big D1 school. So we were kind of realistic at like what my options were going to be. I wanted somewhere that was going to kind of push me in the right direction for my major because I knew at that point that I wanted to do physical therapy. So that was kind of a big factor into like what school I kind of decided to go with. And I had been to a few camps at Incarnate Word, and when I first went, I went to a pitching camp and they just kind of like threw me in the middle and they were like, "Here, lead the stretches." And I was like, "Oh, like, okay, I guess." And so I don't know, it just kind of felt like that was where I was supposed to be. They were like, made me feel really important and like they liked me a lot. I also wanted to go somewhere I knew I was going to get playing time. That was a big deal for me. I didn't want to go somewhere and just never touch the field just to say I went to a big school like that. So I wanted somewhere that was going to let me do what I did best and allow me to get on the field. And so that was kind of like my big decision of why I chose UIW. And then they also have a really good rehab science program that I got into. So that was kind of like my main like selling point. I wanted just to go somewhere that I knew I was going to play and someone that wanted me. So I didn't really commit until like later on, you would say, but I'm kind of glad that it took me that long. I'm very like, I wanna weigh out all my options. I don't just wanna, "Oh, the first school offered me, so that's where I'm gonna go." So I am kinda, like, glad it took me a little bit longer because it allowed me to, like, list out the pros and cons and allow me to make the best decision for myself and allow me to stay close to home too.
hmm That's good because so basically, like instead of just picking a school just for sports, you made sure they also had a good program in what you wanted to major in as well.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's, I mean, to me that's a like a very smart decision because a lot of people just like to go just based on the sports,
Yeah.
and not thinking about. I mean, for girls, oh my, get this guy out of the camera. What's
Yeah,
going
I always
on,
got
man?
the star of the show.
Yeah, he trying to.
He had
Hey,
to
Dog, I had to holler at you one time, dog. Huh? Don't make it hard, my girl. Hey, get her them hard questions.
hey, no. Before we got rudely interrupted. No, that's my guy right there, man. I love me some. I love me some Cheyenne Coach Mata there.
Uh,
That's my guy.
yeah.
Now, but because what I was saying is a lot of kids they like to choose schools because of names, right?
Yeah.
And being softball not having much after college, so it's good to make sure you get something so you can make sure you get a good degree.
Yeah, that was really important for me. I kind of always like known what I wanted to do after softball, and only so many people play like pro softball, so it's not like it's something that you're just gonna kind of get thrown into. It's not as big as the MLB, although it would be awesome, but you have to be like really realistic with yourself. And I give a lot of credit to my parents because sometimes it wasn't always what I wanted to hear. It's never great to hear, well, you're never gonna go play at the Texas and Oklahoma. And I'm like, okay. But it allowed me to kind of be like, you know what, they're right, and just kind of focus on what do you want to do after softball. So and it set me up on a good path. I'm in physical therapy school now, so I wouldn't change anything, honestly.
Hmm. That's good though. That's real good. Being that I know you probably heard because probably got some messages from your dad that my kid is she actually going through that now and I don't be at the at the therapies that she go to, but my wife, she take her and she tells her that like she really be like amazed on how the doctor that he can just do certain things and point out like, hey, this is not working right. Let me do this. Now,
Mhm.
oh, okay, you see. So that's hopefully, she loves sports, so maybe that's something she can look into
Right.
after
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
That was my decision. I was like, what can keep me around sports?
Oh, yeah, true. That's smart. That's
hmm
smart. So, in college, how did you balance your academics and sports?
Um, So it's tough. I'm not gonna lie. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to have like a lot of self discipline. There's a lot of times you get done with practice and you're like, I don't want to look at homework and I just don't want to do it. But unfortunately, you have to, and that's just kind of the way life goes. I tried to make sure I allowed enough time for myself in every week. And I always went to church on Sundays. Like that was like my me time. And I tried to kind of work my schedule to where like Sunday was my chill day. Um, I would like to get my stuff done early rather than later. And I'm a very much of a planner. So I had my planner out. I knew what I was going to do at this time. Knew what I was going to do at this time. I had practice from here to here. And honestly, we have like kind of breaks in between practice and class, and you'll have like a 2, 3 hour break. So instead of like going home, I would just stay up at the school and study, finish all my assignments. And then my freshman year, we had mandatory study hall hours, which was honestly kind of what helped me a lot, like getting my routine and getting my schedule because I had to be there no matter what if I did or didn't have assignments. So it kind of allowed me to like plan everything to where I wasn't trying to fit all of my assignments in one day, like kind of spreading it out and focusing on different classes each day. So that's something that really helped me. We had to do 4 hours every week, and it was looked at by the coaches. So like kind of knowing that okay, 4 hours helped you get towards this grade, and this grade. So like 4 hours works for you. Let's just keep incorporating that into your week every single week. So I would say that's probably like my biggest thing that helped me kind of balance everything was just making sure I'm using my time efficiently and not necessarily always doing what I wanted to do, but doing what I needed to do. And then later on in the week, being able to do what you want to do.
Okay. And like I like to ask these questions to like, the athletes, that's been there, done that. Because I know, the college life can easily just, it can grab you. And once it grab you and get a hold to you, you can get stuck in the college life. Incarnate Word, it was there in San Antonio. I don't know much if they have the whole party scene and all that.
Um, Not necessarily. Like, I mean, we did. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lie and say we never did anything. Yes, we
Right.
did. It was honestly the sports, like, um, because it's a private school, so a lot of us were athletes, and we all just kind of hung out together. Like, we were always with baseball, and then football got incorporated, and then we were always with volleyball and women's soccer. So it did kind of help that you had that whole community of athletes, and you're like, you see them in class, and then you're like, OMG, like, did you do this assignment? And they're like, oh yeah, I've already done it, and then you can kind of talk about it. So I would like going. I'm not necessarily. I like to be in bed early. Like I'm like 9:30. I'm tired, but I am, and so it wasn't always necessarily like, "Ugh, yeah, like that sounds so fun. But I am glad that I went out and did those kind of things because it allowed me to make friends with people that I don't necessarily see every single day outside of softball.
Okay, well that's a good thing. I mean, you can go out. There's nothing wrong with going out, have a drink if you drink, but it's a good thing that you was out with other athletes. So y'all
Yeah.
have y'all same, y'all know y'all eye on the prize. Like, okay,
Mhm.
we can go and do this, but at the same time, school comes first.
Yeah.
That's good. How important is grades? You know, when you talk about like recruiting, the recruitment, your recruitment process. How important is grades when you trying to get recruited?
I would honestly say they're probably one of the most important things other than how you are as a person. Because they want kids that are going to get accepted into their school, first of all, and they want kids that are going to succeed in their program and make their program look good. If you can't pass and you can't play, then why are they going to offer you a scholarship to come play for their school? So I would say that's probably like top three out of what they look for. And I know everyone's like, "Oh, you have time, you're only in your freshman year," but eventually you blink your eyes and you're in your junior year and you're getting recruited and you're out of that time. So grades are really important. Like I can't stress it enough, honestly. We tell our kids right now that I coach, like, I'm like, "How was your test? What did you do? What did you make?" Because it's important and they do look at it. They want, like I said, they want kids that are gonna be able to play and they want kids that are gonna get accepted into the school. So if you aren't really cutting it in high school, then that might cut your chances of maybe getting an offer or getting a scholarship because you might not get into their school and then they could have offered a kid that has perfect grades but might not be as talented as you, but they at least know that they're going to be able to get into their school, and then whenever they do get into the school they'll be able to stay and actually play for the program.
You know, and you know during recruiting and like at the tournaments and stuff, not only do the college coaches recruit the athletes, but they also recruit the parents. So how
Mhm.
important is it for parents to make sure they're on their best behavior at these tournaments when the college coaches are out?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. They do pay attention to their parents a lot. A lot of the times, I think kids just get wrapped up in how you perform is what they're going to offer you on, and that's not the case. I know, like when I was getting recruited, I heard many stories of like I got offered because I was warming up before my game, and all of my team was sitting there watching the next team, and I was sitting there taking extra cuts, like before they had ever even seen me step on the field. And so I say things like that because they're looking at everything you do and they're also looking at the people that raised you. So if you're out there working hard, then most likely your parents made you work hard and they work hard as well. And so your parents are going to be sitting in the bleachers at the end of the day. They're going to also be representing the school, whether the coaches care for it or not. They're going to be sitting up there and they're going to be what people hear, what they're going to represent. You know, they're out in the hotels, they're going to restaurants before you play. So they're kind of out in the community more than you are. And so they're going to want people that represent the program just as well as their player would. And I've also heard of people saying, like, oh, I was about to offer this kid, and then her dad started coaching her from the stands, or her mom started coaching her from the stands, and we just crossed her off our list because at the end of the day, they're the ones who's going to be coaching your kid. So you have to just trust in what they're doing, and they're going to see how you treat the coaches that your kid's playing for right now when you get to choose who your kid plays for and you're paying that person to coach your kid. So if you're going to pay that person to coach your kid, then you should trust them. And so I think that's really important. And most parents are just like, oh, they're not worried about me. They're worried about my kid. But I mean, like I said, you're going to be out there representing the program and the softball team just as much as the player is, and they're going to want people that are respectful and that just are kind of there for the kid, and they want people that are going to be team players, because at the end of the day, that's what's most important. And so even like the parents that kind of sit off by their sides and like don't really say anything, like they want people that are going to be inclusive and kind of build that team chemistry. So I think it's really important, and most people kind of get wrapped up in the softball game at the moment, whereas there's a lot more that's going around that can impact your kid's future, not just if she strikes out swinging or strikes out looking and there's a winning run on third. Like, yes, of course you're going to be frustrated, but there's a way to act and there's a way to go about things. And like people are watching no matter what. And they're not only watching their kid, but they're watching you too. So I think it's important. And I think sometimes we all get wrapped up in the moment, but when college coaches are walking around, you just can't let it get the best of you.
And that's a good thing, to know, because I used to be that parent that used to talk a lot. Like I used to say stuff, especially to the Blues. Like I used to always say something. Thanks to this podcast, I have to be on my best behavior. But another thing, like you said, you have, like you said, the parents that sit to the side. In the younger ages, a lot of the parents, they excuse, or I like to sit out to the side, I don't want to hear the stuff. But most of the time, that's the parents that like to say the craziest things.
Yeah. Yep.
At what age did you want to become a pitcher?
Oh goodness. Believe it or not, me and Riley both started pitching at the same time, and she was a lot better than me. And so everyone was like, "Oh, she's gonna be the pitcher. See, she's gonna be the pitcher." But I think I kind of really like started to fall in love with it when we started like playing games. And I know that kind of sounds like, oh, like duh, but whenever we like started actually playing, and I actually got to pitch against hitters, and then I was like, okay, I actually really do enjoy this and I want to be really good at it. And then that's when we kind of took it to that next level, and we went to a different pitching coach, and I started like really just pitching every single day, like was standing at the door waiting with the bucket for my dad to get home, like, okay, let's go pitch. And he's like, ah, don't you guys want to take a break? And I'm like, no, like we have to go. Like, come on. So yeah, definitely. I mean, I knew from a early age that like when I kind of started pitching, I wasn't necessarily that great at it. So it took me a little while to like kind of fall in love with it, because I like to be like perfect. I'm a perfectionist. So I'm like, okay, I've done 2 lessons and I still can't throw a strike. I'm done. But but once we started kind of playing and I got to like actually throw against hitters and kind of get outs, and like I was like, okay, this is actually pretty fun, and kind of be in the game every single pitch no matter what. Everyone's waiting on you. So kind of kept me in the game, and I really like that.
So you said that your sister she was a lot better than you. Did that help motivate you to work more?
Yes, definitely. We're very competitive. I think as we
Mhm.
got older, it was like everyone's like, "Well, who's the better athlete?" And I'm like, "Well, you can't compare. She's a slapper and I'm a pitcher, like two completely different sides
Right.
of the ball." But we are super competitive. We can't even play family games because it's a disaster. But yeah, definitely. And she was always pitching, so I was like, "Well, I want to do what my sister's doing." So in a way, it did help me like kind of become better and kind of motivate me to get better.
I can just imagine those family gatherings and y'all play games. You said you competitive, she competitive,
We
not to
know
mention
grandma's
your pops. And we
competitive.
yeah. I don't really know your mom like that, but
No, she's the one that's like, "Come on, guys, like, come
mm.
on, we're all trying to have fun," and we're all like, "No, no, it's not fun. None of this is fun. We wanna win."
I want to win. That's
Yeah.
when it's fun. I get it because I'm competitive. My wife competitive. I don't like the kids to win, and it's like let them. No, like no, like
No,
my
I have
kids.
the nephews, and I'm like, I'll, like, beat them, and she's like, "Maddie, really? Like, you're 22." I'm like, "I don't care. I'm a winner. We're winners around here."
Mhm. Yep, yep. Because my kids. So like my son, especially my oldest son, he's a trash talker. So if he do something good, he talks a lot. So I'm like, I for sure. So he like to play horse and all this. Like, hey, all right now, this my sport. I play basketball. So I don't let him win in no
Yeah.
kind of way.
We're at
Mhm.
our family Christmas right now, and we were actually just playing a game, and it was girls versus boys, and all the girls are like, "Make sure they're not cheating. Make sure they're not." I'm like, "You guys, we can't even have fun around here."
Hey, that's how things go. Hey,
Uh huh.
hey, and I know it's all fun and games, but I need to win. I need to have some bragging rights.
For sure.
When did you realize you had what it takes to play at the next level?
um, that's a good question. I think probably around when I got to like 16, my second year 16s, my first year 18s, I was always the small pitcher, the kid that didn't throw very hard. And so it was always, oh, well, she's probably just going to go to a small school. Or, oh, well, she's only on the best team because her dad's the coach. And so it was kind of a little, I didn't really get upset about it. I'm like, okay, well, watch me. How about that? And so that's something like me and Cheyenne always talk about. Like, remember this, remember that, remember when you didn't do this. And so it's really cool to kind of look back on now because I'm like, I made it, I did it, like here we are. But definitely like I would say probably my second year 16s, I started kind of getting looks and like the big schools were looking at me and then they're kind of like, well, she's too small, but I'm gonna talk to this coach about her, and I think she'll be really good there. And so once I kind of like started hearing that, you're like, okay, like maybe I can do this, and it almost kind of motivated me in a way. And then my last year of select softball, so my senior year, we played for Impact Gold. We were on the 18U team with Casey Jackson, and it was me and another girl named Gracie. She was going to UTA, I was going to UIW, and everyone was like their pitchers aren't going to be very good. They don't have the kids that are going to Texas and A&M, and it was actually kind of cool because we like did the best that year, and we kind of went off and everyone was like, "Oh, okay, like we don't want to play them and we don't want to do that and we don't want to face her." And because it was literally like Gracie would go one time through the lineup and then I would come in and go second time through the lineup and she threw harder and I was an off speed. And so like people just could not get it. And it was like, we were kind of like, okay, maybe we are good enough to do this thing. Like maybe we'll be okay in college. So it was actually pretty cool to see. And everyone was like, they have great hitters, but I think they're going to be missing their pitching. And me and Gracie were like, watch us.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, being a pitcher, what was your favorite pitch to throw?
Oh, I love to throw my changeup because not I why I am an off-speed pitcher. Well, if I'm throwing to lefties, I like to throw my curveball because
Mm.
lefty on lefty curveball, people just can't hit it. But my changeup because people would have some crazy swings, and I'm like, that was like rolling at you. Why did you even swing at that? In my head, and I'm like, what's going on here? But yeah, definitely. I think I got a lot of miss hits and a lot of swings and misses on my changeup, and I just like to change speeds. Like that was my favorite thing. My changeup, I was like, I can throw it anywhere I want, wherever you call it, up, down, left, right, break sooner, break longer. It was definitely probably one of my better pitches.
That's impressive. I wish I could pitch. I can't. I don't see how y'all do this stuff. This hit this ball that's coming at you, moving all around, up and down.
Oh, I
And
couldn't hit. Hitting was not my thing. You put me in the box, and I'm like, what do I do now?
so being a pitcher, it didn't like help you in the box. Recognizing pitches. No.
Oh, no, definitely not, definitely. I didn't even get the opportunity to go into the box, like, they were just like, "No, you just sit there and pitch, and we'll let somebody else hit."
I mean, I can't say it's a bad thing because most pitchers don't hit. It's
Mhm,
only the selected few that actually, hit.
yeah,
So I mean, that's really and truly is not a bad thing. That's like the
mhm.
common, thing. But what was your top three pitches that you had? I know a lot of people say you don't need to have all these pitches and this and that, but if you had three pitches that you could pick from that you like to throw, what would those be?
Um, Probably my curveball, my screwball, and my changeup.
Hmm. Okay. And at what age did you learn those pitches, and in what order?
I learned my fastball first, when I first started pitching, and then probably my first year 10, I also learned to throw a changeup. And then we actually moved and I started pitching with Krista Williams. And so she was the one who kind of showed me everything, showed me my screwball, showed me my curveball, but we didn't really move on until I had not mastered, but I was consistent with one. Once I got consistent with my screwball, then I started to learn how to throw a curveball. It wasn't like, okay, well, I'm going to teach you all of these, and then they're all just going to kind of be everywhere. And you're just going to have to rely on your fastball. It was like, okay, we have our changeup down. Let's start learning a new pitch, and then I kind of would master that one. And okay, now let's start learning a new pitch. I kind of learned pitches a little bit faster because, like I said, I wanted to pitch every single day, and so I worked every single day because I was like, well, I want to learn a new pitch by next week because I want to have this one down. So that's just me being competitive and me being me. Um, but it's not like a lot of times, like you said, everyone, it's not that kids shouldn't have every single pitch. It's
Hmm.
just you need to have pitches that are going to be consistent. So it's great if you have a curveball, a screwball, a changeup, a rise ball, a drop ball, a fastball. That's awesome. But if you can't throw any of them for a strike, then you really don't have a changeup, a screwball, a curveball, a rise ball, a drop ball. Now, if you're very consistent and you're just hitting all your spots, I do this with my kids now. I don't move on into it, learn and teach them a new pitch until they've mastered the pitch that they're working on. So I do have some kids that are 10 years old and can throw a curveball, a screwball, a backdoor, a changeup, and I've now started teaching her a drop ball. And then I have some kids that are the same age and they only throw a fastball and a changeup. But it also is going to depend on how hard the pitcher wants to work because if she's not throwing every day and she doesn't want to get better, then it's going to be really hard for me to teach her new pitches and try to make her better.
Hmm. And do you think like pitching is, is like you said, you want to do it every day if you want to be really good. So do you think like that's the reason why most pitchers don't hit, because they just don't have time to hit?
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case because hitters, they hit every single day.
Mhm.
And doing both is really hard. You have to pitch every single day and then you also have to hit every single day. And it takes a lot and a lot of dedication for somebody to have to do both of those and want to do both of those. And
Mhm.
so I definitely think that's why you see a lot of kids focus more on pitching and then their hitting kind of trickles off and then they're like, okay, well, I'm just going to be a pitcher only. And then you have the vice versa where you have a lot of pitchers that focus on hitting and then you kind of see their pitching trickle off and then that's when they kind of are like, okay, I'm just going to be a hitter and play another position. But yeah, I definitely think that that's the case because it takes a lot to kind of do both, and you have to have a lot of time and worth ethic to put in. You have to hit
Mhm.
200 softballs and you have to pitch 200 softballs, and you only have 24 hours in a day, and you have to go to school and you have to eat dinner and you have to do your homework and everything else that you have to do.
Mhm. So how was practices in college, like for pitchers? Did you have to do, like regular practice day with the rest of the team and then go bullpen, or how did you do it?
Yeah, so in the fall when we are in like 8-hour weeks, we just have bullpens and we'll just pitch and we do conditioning and all that. And then once you move into the 20-hour weeks, yes, we have team practice and then you'll either have your bullpen before or after team practice. But during team practice, we do pretty much everything the fielders do, everything the rest of the position players do. We take ground balls, we pick balls off machine, we do everydays. Obviously, it's a little bit like catered towards pitchers, but we're in bunt defense, we're in and out, we're in everything. Yeah, it's not really like kind of like how you would expect it to be. Like everyone's always like, "Oh, pitchers are just pitchers." Like,
Hmm.
um, and that's kind of what I heard my whole life. Like, and then when we got to school, it was pitchers are athletes too. Like, you're going to be an athlete. You're going to learn how to field your position. And if you can't field your position, well, then we're going to have to throw another kid in there, and they're going to field their position. So definitely, we were in everything. And yeah, so we do bullpens, and then you're also in team defense and really whatever the team does. And hitters are the same way. They have like hitting, and then we'll have defense. Sometimes we'll do hitting into like our regular team practice, but usually they have like individuals, and then we'll have team practice.
Okay. How was your training at your early stages of pitching, and did it change as you got older?
Yes. So I would say when I was younger, I definitely threw a lot more pitches. I would go outside for an hour and I would probably throw 150 pitches. And I threw every single day when I was younger. And then kind of as I started getting older, it was more of like, you don't have to actually pitch every single day, but as long as you're doing something, like you can do your spins, you can stand in front of your TV and put your hand in a rice bucket and make your spins better. So I kind of started doing a little bit more of that stuff, and honestly, you're growing, you're lifting, you're starting to do all that once you get to like the high school, college level. So you don't have to actually go outside and pitch every single day. So I would say it kind of, I don't want to say I pitched less as I got older, but I think I pitched more effective when I got older, like more efficient with my time. I wouldn't sit outside for 2 hours and just pitch. It was okay, I'm gonna go outside, and as long as all my pitches are working and I feel good, then I'm gonna be done. I'm not gonna sit here and throw, and then if there's a pitch I need to work on, then I'll take the extra time and work on that. But it wasn't, I'm gonna go outside and I have to be outside for 2 hours or else it wasn't a good day. And that's how I was when I was younger. It was no, I don't care if I threw good. I was only out here for 45 minutes. I have to be out here for an hour. And so I started getting older. It was like, if you're out there for 30 minutes and you feel good, then okay, we're done. Like that's good. And it kind of honestly took me to college to get to that, because there were days where we would go into the bullpen and it was just a feel good day. And once you felt good, you'd go do your conditioning and then you were done for the day. And so it was kind of, it took me a little bit to kind of realize that you don't have to go outside and throw for 2, 3 hours a day. You can go outside and just throw until you feel good. So I guess that's how my pitching kinda changed. I wouldn't say, like, I threw less, like I said, I just was probably more efficient with my time and just kind of listened to my body more too. Like, if you don't feel good one day, you don't have to force yourself to get up and go outside and pitch 20 buckets. You can just do your spins inside and wait till the next day whenever you feel better. And you're gonna, if you feel good, you're gonna pitch good. That's just how it goes. Like, I tell my kids all the time, like, some of them will take like 2 weeks off and they'll come back and they're like, I'm gonna throw terrible, and they throw really good. And I'm like, you needed that. Like, sometimes it's okay. When your season ends, it's okay to take 2 weeks off. Like, you don't have to end your season and go the very next weekend and go outside with your dad and field for 20 hours a day. Like, you're gonna be okay. You're not gonna lose your skills in 2 weeks. It's really okay.
Yeah, because it's some people that they feel like they shouldn't take a break when, hello, how you doing? You next, you next.
She said,
No. Listen, it's some people that feel like, the season end and they need to get right back to it,
yeah.
and not realizing like that. To me, like when people say kids burn out, is because they just overwork them, right?
Hmm.
And at the same time, if you really love something, I don't really think you can burn out. And that's just my opinion. But I mean, I've heard a lot of people have told me their kids burn out. They don't want to do it anymore. And I'm thinking like, because I have a kid that, I mean, right now she can't do anything, but she always wanted to do something. Uh,
Hmm.
Something about the sport, she always wanted to do something. And not once have she ever told me, like, I don't want to do it anymore. I'm tired of it. But I guess that's just the love she have for it, and that she really just want to get better at it.
Right. Yeah, no, and I think too a lot of it has to do with like at the end of the day you still have to let kids be kids, and like you have to let them go to their homecoming and let them go to their homecoming dance.
Mhm.
I'm sure there was a lot of times that me and my sister would rather have went to the softball field than go to somebody's birthday party, but it my parents were like, "No, you need to go be a kid. You need to go be around other people." And so I think that had a lot to do with we never really got that burnout because we still got to do everything we wanted to do and do softball. So it wasn't like we were missing out on everything, and then it was like, oh well, I don't get to do this with my friends, and all my friends get to do this, and then they get to do this, and they get to do this, and we are always doing softball. Now that is the case sometimes. Like sometimes you have to play a softball tournament and you can't go to your friend's birthday. I'm not saying that. There's gonna be stuff that you miss out on, and that's just the way life goes. But if you really truly love softball, then it's like, well, I have softball. That's just the way it goes. And I think you start to see that burnout when it's like, no, it's a Thursday night and you can't go to your sister's birthday dinner because we have softball practice. Like you have to let your kids be kids. They don't want to miss out on everything. Like
Yeah.
they're still children.
Yep. And that's one thing that I guess I can't say I'm perfect at that because
Yeah. No one's perfect. I can promise you, Coach Mata was like, no, we're not going to no Valentine's Day.
yeah, right.
You guys got ball in the morning.
Yeah, and I know my kid, she's just in the seventh grade right now. So, I mean, eventually, I'm pretty sure those things will come around. I mean, if it was just a normal tournament, or, maybe you can go, but, you got the higher tournament. Yeah, you
Yeah,
ain't going to no
right?
game. We got to
Or
go hit.
yeah, you can go, but we have to leave at 10:30 instead of staying till
Mhm.
midnight. Like there's just you gotta compromise. You can't just be like, no, we have softball, and that's just the
Yeah.
way it goes.
hmm At what age should athletes start working for the recruitment process?
Um, this is gonna sound like an obvious answer, but honestly, always at any age, I think the sooner you can get them to this is kind of like what you want to do. I think the sooner kids realize like, okay, I want to play college softball, the harder they're gonna work because it's something they want to. I think I mean, obviously, when they're 8, probably not, but, like, once they start getting to, like, 12U, 14, 16, like, we have colleges that come watch our team because they're talking to me. Like, my coach one time came and talked to me, and my team was playing, and I'm like, they're still looking, and so
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing is coaches just wanna see you consistently get better. They don't want to see the kid that is awesome in 14s. They go to 16s, they start high school, and now all of a sudden they're just an average kid. They want somebody that's going to consistently keep getting better and going to consistently be on the best teams, whether you're playing or not. If you're on the
Mhm.
best teams, you're going to continue to get better. And I think that's something like parents kind of have a hard time with is, they're paying money, so they want their kid to play, obviously. But it doesn't do your kid any good to play on a bottom team and be the all-star on that team because unfortunately colleges aren't going to go watch that team play.
No, yeah, I agree with that, and that's something that I got this last season of 12U, and it's gonna start getting a little serious. For me on my side because I really don't know anything about the whole recruiting and all that. I just know we're not picking a school for a name. We picking a school because they actually want you and you can
Yes,
show them what you can do.
right.
Everything else, I have a lot of contacts in my phone that I'm not afraid to message and ask a question about.
Yeah, no. That's definitely helpful. And yeah, like you kind of said, you want to go somewhere you're going to play. Like at the
Mhm,
end of the day, it's awesome if you can go to Texas and be a walk on and never touch the field. But how great is it going to be if you can go to Incarnate Word and get a full ride and play every single game of every single inning of every single game? And I think that's the hardest thing that like kids nowadays have to get a grasp on because everyone wants to go play for Oklahoma. Everyone wants to go play for Texas. Why? Like, as you should. But
yeah.
not everyone is going to get that opportunity. So you have to do what's best for you at the end of the day. And, you only get 4 years of college to play softball. Like, and I was like, oh, it'll go by slow. No, no, no. It goes by really fast. Like, I'm like, wait, I don't play anymore. Like, wait, this is weird. Do I need to go pitch or something?
I need to go to bullpen. Right? I need to go throw
I
some
still
buckets.
wake up. Sometimes I'm like, am I late for practice? What do I have today?
Because I mean, you just graduated, right?
Yeah, in May.
Yeah, yeah. So it's you still fresh out.
Uh
You still fresh out. Yeah, very fresh out.
huh.
How different was it going from high school? ball to college ball?
Um, I was fortunate where I went to a high school that all of us were going to play college softball. So I wouldn't say it was that big of a difference for me. Definitely like time wise, you practice way more in college than you do in high school. But we all kind of knew like we all wanted to win, we all wanted to be good, we all wanted to work hard. And so we just kind of were all that way, and so it wasn't like a big jump for me. It wasn't like anything that was crazy. Um, so yeah, it wasn't. I would did am not the best one to answer this because I was fortunate enough to go with would play with 9 other kids that were also going to play Division 1 college softball. So it wasn't like I was playing with kids that have never played softball, and now I'm going to play with the best of the best. So
Yeah, that's the thing because a lot of high schools they might have one, two, three
mhm,
girls that can even that can even make it to the next level, and all the
right,
rest of them is basically just out there playing because they don't have anything else to do. To do.
yeah,
I
because
mean,
you know
that might
for.
yeah, that might sound rude or bad, but I mean it's true. Like you
Mhm.
have these teams and you go watch some of these softball teams in high school and you can tell right away who's gonna go play, who wants to play
Right,
even at that moment than the ones that's just out there because they just want to try a different sport that they just started in the seventh or eighth grade because they was bored.
right, right.
What type of drills or workouts would you recommend for athletes? Like pitchers mostly, and how many times a day should they do those drills?
Um, I would say the biggest thing, like for kids that are gonna be younger, like I truly believe, like when you first start pitching, the best thing for you is to get in games and pitch. Like you need to pitch in a live game because honestly, you can do all the drills that you want to do. You can pitch as much as you want to mom and dad, but when a batter steps in the box, it's a completely different mindset. So I do when you're younger, I think the best drill is honestly getting to pitch in live games. Now as far as like doing different things, with my kids, I kind of we kind of throw all of our pitches. I only throw my kids for 30 minutes that I give lessons to. And this past week we did like a conditioning week, and they hated me for it, but we did like lunges into pitching, and then like we did like burpees, and then you pitch, and then we did like a 2-minute drill where you just throw as many pitches as you can in 2 minutes, and you just have to go, 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 go. Yeah, they were not a fan of it, but stuff like that is really going to help you because pitching is if you're consistent, that's great. Honestly, you want to be consistent, but you have to have stamina. You have to be able to pitch. You have to be able to throw, especially like when you're 12, second year 12, even some of like the 14s. Some of these teams only have 1, 2 pitchers, and that's who they rely on. Our team, we only have 2 pitchers, and we play what, maybe 7 or 8 games in a weekend, and they each throw 4 games a weekend. Like, obviously, when you get to college, it's not going to be the case, but you have to be able to throw and be just as effective as you were when you threw your first pitch to your very last pitch. So I would say like as much as the conditioning drills are not fun and they suck and you're dying when you get done with them, they are really important. And I do believe you have to have a recovery day. Like there would be when we would play with a lot of games in a weekend, we practice on Tuesdays, and a lot of times I would just have my kids long toss. And I don't mean the long toss where you like throw all the way from the end of the fence and try to see how far you can make it home. I mean, like when you throw it all the way up in the air as high as you can and really try to loosen out your arm. And I think people get so caught up in long toss and they want to see as far as they can throw it. Well, I don't care how far you can throw it. All you're doing is hurting your arm.
Yeah.
Try to loosen our arm and throw it as high as we possibly can and just loosen up. And I think that that's probably a benefit of me being a college softball player because I know kind of how our bullpens worked and how our schedule worked and all that kind of stuff. So I would just say drills, like do all kinds of drills, all sorts of drills. Work on your spin, work on your legs, work on your mechanics. you can never be too perfect when it comes to pitching, and there's always something you can get better at. I know every single day, it's I guess you could call it a drill. I had a bucket, like softball bucket, and I would put rice in it, and I would stick my hand all the way down to like my elbow, and I would just do all of my spins. I would do like 100 of them a day, and all it's gonna do is make me know, okay, this is how my fingers have to work, and it's not an easy thing to do. It's hard. You have a whole thing of rice, and you're trying to move your hand around it. And so all it's gonna do is just strengthen all the muscles, like in your wrists and your fingers and everything, and it made my spin more effective. And it's something I could literally do when I was sitting there at the end of the night watching TV. It took me maybe 20 minutes a night. And so, like, that's easy stuff that you can do at home just to kind of help you be that 1% better. That's what we talk about every day. Get 1% better than the day before. And so, I would really just say do all sorts of things. I mean, you can look up. I know a lot of the girls are on TikTok. I'm on TikTok. You can literally just search up pitching drills, and thousands of them will come up. And there's nothing that you can do that's going to hurt you pitching. So be creative with it. Make it your own. Really, that's all I would say. There's so many that you can do. Like, there's not an answer that I can sit here and give you and be like, oh yes, this is the best one and this is what's gonna help you. And every kid's different. If you want to throw harder, work on your leg drills, work on driving off the mound. If you want more spin, do the rice bucket, throw it the spinner, throw it the weighted ball, all those, like, there's just, if there's certain things that you want to do, then those are the drills that you should be doing.
Okay, that's the first time I think. I mean, I'm not into pitching. My daughter was into pitching, and yeah, I was like, this, nah. We went for a good little while trying to do it, and then I was like, let's just go hit. Like, I think I can teach you more. Like, I could, yeah, I understand the hitting more than
Mhm.
the pitching, because when she was pitching, and long as I hear a pack, that was good. It's right here, pack. Okay,
Yeah.
good pitch. The mechanics, she probably was gonna throw her shoulder out of place messing with me because I didn't know what was going on. Like,
Yeah.
it's down the middle. It's good. It's
Mhm.
good. So what's the drill that you do with your pitchers at the beginning of every lesson?
We always start with snaps. And I think that's a really good way for me to see their spin. So whatever they throw, if they throw fastball, then we just do fastball. If they throw screw and curve, then we do our screw and curve spins. And that's all. And I like to have my kids pitch with the tape around the ball so you can see like how the ball is actually spinning. And then after that, we move back and we always do like our K drill, because a lot of times kids have a hard time like keeping their hips out the way, and they have a hard time throwing strikes. And they're like, well, I don't understand why I can't throw a strike. I can get it there. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's like hitting and your foot's still in the air and you're trying to hit the ball. Like, you're not going to have that much power doing that.
Mhm.
And so we always start with Ks. I like to break it down. Obviously, with my kids that I've had a little bit longer, we kind of move through it a little bit quicker. And then if they're new, I always start with like they've never pitched before. We do snaps, and then I have them kind of like go down on one knee, and then like kind of like a K, but I take their legs out of it so they can feel where they're supposed to release the ball. And then once we kind of get the hang of that, I stand them up and then incorporate their legs, just so you can kind of like break it down, because a lot of kids want to just start right off the mound and just start throwing and have no idea what to do. And so my biggest thing is I like to break it down, and then when stuff's not working, let's go back and see where it's not working. Is our spin not working, or are we releasing it too soon? And then kind of work our way back from there. But we always do our snaps and we always do our K drill.
Okay. I know, like at the beginning, you said like you as a pitcher, you wasn't a pitcher that had a lot of speed. You was more spin. So, how do you teach, like in your lessons? How do you teach your kids? Do you teach them more of spin, or do you teach them more of speed, or it just depends on the athlete?
It kind of depends on them. So if I have a kid that throws harder, I think spin is the most important thing, hands down. I think you can throw as hard as you want, but if your ball doesn't move, it's all about timing, and eventually kids are going to catch up to it. So
Mhm.
I do focus a lot on spin, but I don't necessarily make kids throw slower to have more spin. If they throw hard, then we're gonna keep making them throw harder. We're gonna do different leg drills. We're gonna do different driving off the mound drills. We're gonna do all different sorts of things to make sure that they keep their speed. But in the same time, if we're just sitting there throwing right down the middle and our ball's not spinning and we're supposed to be throwing screwball or curveball or whatever, I'm like, wait a second. We need to focus on our spin. I get we want to throw hard. And I have had a lot of these talks with my kids like throwing hard is awesome. That's great if you throw hard, but so does everybody else. Like at this point, especially like my taller kids, like everyone else throws hard. What do you do that's different from them? And everyone is so big on like strikeouts. How many strikeouts did you have? That's the first question everyone always asked me when I was done pitching. Well, how many strikeouts did you have? And I'm like, but if I'm getting outs and I'm doing my job and I'm keeping runners off the base, then why does it matter how many strikeouts you have? Like, that's my biggest thing. I tell my two pitchers all the time, if we get a strikeout, that's awesome. But that's not our goal. We're not trying to get strikeouts. We're trying to throw pitches that make people hit the ball. We're trying to get outs. We're trying to make people hit ground balls and pop flies so our defense can make the routine plays and keep people off the bases as well. And I think that's where so many people get caught up when it comes to pitching is they want to throw hard so they can get strikeouts. Well, why don't we just keep people off the base? Why don't we just get ground balls and pop flies? That's just as good. If you have 21 strikeouts and no runs and you have 21 outs and no runs, you still have no runs and 21 outs. It doesn't matter how you get the out. You just have to get the out.
Yep, I agree with that. And a lot of kids, I mean, a lot of hitters these days, they're focusing on the fastball. They focusing on speed. I mean, when you did doing hitting lessons, the first thing you tell them is you got to have quick hands.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're throwing it fast in there, eventually they're going to time it up. If, like you said, if the ball is not moving and it's going straight over the plate,
Right.
yeah, it's going to be trouble. It's gonna be trouble for you. So, for the younger ages, do you think like the sanctions of tournaments, the type of sanctions, do you think it matter at this point?
Um, as far as like pitching or just in general,
Just in general, just in general.
I think that to be the best, you have to play the best. That's just how we've always been. That's how we did it. That's how my dad has always been. So I think if that's what you're wanting to do, if you're wanting to go out and say we are the best da 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 team in
Mhm.
Texas, well, okay, show me who you've played. Why are you the best team? So I don't want to say like tournaments are the end all be all because it honestly depends on the kid. If the kid is just looking to get reps, then just go play wherever you want to play. Go play on a team where she's going to play every single inning, get every single at bat, be the third hitter, and she's going to be the superstar so she can get reps in order to go try out for a team that does want to be the best. But if you want to play for like the highest level, that's why we don't play in any like I guess 11U tournaments. We
Mhm.
play in 12U tournaments because we want to be the best. We want to beat Katie Cave. We want to beat you guys. Like we want to beat everyone. And like that is our goal. That's what we want to do. It's great. We actually got asked at the beginning of the year, like, what is your goal for this team? What do y'all want to do? And I said, I want to beat the teams we should beat. I want to beat everyone in our age class, and I want to compete with the older kids. As long as we're competing in the fall, we'll be okay. We're on the right track. And so I just think that's really important. Like, if you want to be the best, you should play with the best and you should play against the best. And if you are the best, then you should just keep competing because teams are wanting to beat you. So never
Mhm.
take off, honestly.
Yeah, I remember the first time that we played y'all. I got a message the next morning. And what you think? And I told him, like, and like I like to be, be honest. And I'm like, man, like for first watch seeing that team, I'm like, first off, y'all very aggressive with the bats. Y'all not trying to sit there and wait on y'all trying to hit the ball for one. Y'all want to hit the ball. And he
Yep.
was like, yeah. And so I've seen quite a few of the 2013 teams, play. I've seen some of the top ones that they say they're the top ones, and which there is some very good 2013 teams out there. And I told your dad like, hey, y'all can compete And that was just me seeing y'all, just that one game when we played y'all, the very first game when we played y'all. And I was like, you know what, man? Like watching y'all that one game, seeing how y'all came out, because y'all came out and y'all was straight at our heads right away. I was over there, and even our parents was like, oh crap. Like, what's going on? What's going on here? But that's just a team, like you can't look at 2013 and underestimate anybody, because just because they're 2013s, that don't really mean anything to me. That's just their year. That's just the year of
Right.
the team, right? And I told them, I was like, man, y'all can really compete with these top 2013 teams. And I would love to see y'all in tournaments against the best 2013 team, not just a random 2013 team, but
Right.
the best ones that they have out there. Like they have the Blaze Futures, they have the Game Time, the 2013 Blaze Academy, the 12U American Bombers team. Those three, like I know for sure that they're very good teams, and I know like y'all not just because y'all don't have those accolades or names behind y'all. I think y'all can compete with all of those teams on any given day. And not just saying it just because we here talking, like that's just real. Like, and you can actually that when he texted me, I told him right away, y'all very good. Y'all can compete with the best 2013 teams that they claim they're the best out there.
Yeah, and we try hard not to make like a big deal out of it, like when we play
Mhm,
guys, because they're nervous. Obviously, they're like, "Oh
mhm,
my, they're really good." And I remember the first time we had played y'all, that was like the first like big team that we had played, and they're kind of like looking at me like, "What do we do? Like what's about to happen?" It's our
mhm,
first, and they were all scared, and I'm like, the pressure's on them. Like, they're the ones that don't wanna lose to you guys. We
mhm,
have nothing to lose. Like, they have to beat us, right? They're the best. We haven't proved anything.
mhm,
So, we kinda gave them, like, they're the pressure's on them. Just go out there, just play softball, do what we've been doing all weekend, and if it goes our way, it goes our way. If it doesn't, we know what to work on. And I
mhm,
think they were kinda like, "Oh, like, they're kinda right," Kinda loosen them up a little bit, but we try hard not to make a big deal out of who we're playing or anything like that, because they're kids, they're gonna get nervous like
mhm,
anyone would. And so, yeah, just kind of letting them know that it's okay. Like, especially when we play the older teams, like the pressure's on them. Like, they have to beat you. They have to prove that they're better than you. It's not the other way around. And we tell them all the time, like, you guys are good enough. Like, you're good enough to win. You're good enough to compete. And it's not the end of the world if we don't win. I know it's like, "Wait, what? She said that?" And if my kids are watching, they're gonna be like, "She tells us it is." But it's not. Like, the sun's still gonna rise, your parents are
mhm,
still gonna be there, you're still gonna wake up. It's just a softball game at the end of the day. Now, do I wanna win? Yes. But if we play our best softball and it doesn't go our way, it is what it is. Now, I'm not saying we can go out there and just make errors and just goof off. Then, yes, I'm going to be mad, because that's not the way we play softball. But if we go out there and we compete and we give it our best shot and it just doesn't fall our way that day, then that's just the way it goes. But I think they get so nervous and so wrapped up and, oh, well, they're the bigger team, they're the older team, and
yeah,
it's we're both playing softball at the end of the day. Like, you
mhm.
get to pitch, they get to pitch, you get to hit, they get to hit. So, just kinda not making it a big deal when those big games kinda come up.
No, okay. And I like how you said, well, if we lose, then we know what we need to go and work on. Because a lot of teams, they don't like to lose. They just want to win, win, win. Then it's like, for me, I'm looking at it as like, if you keep winning, then what do you need to work on?
Mm,
Like you need to lose. You need to
yeah,
lose. Would it be good to be 1,000,000 and 0? Of course. But what am I practicing for if I'm winning every game?
mhm,
So that's always a thing for me. Like, you need to lose some games. You need to go out there, play against the best teams, and we'll see how it goes then. How hard was it, during your recruiting process? And did you have any other schools on your radar other than Incarnate Word?
yes, so I had went on a visit to Lamar. I had gotten invited to an ETBU camp, UT Tyler camp. So, there was a few other schools looking at me. Honestly, my like I kind of talked about earlier, I wanted to stay close to home. It was kind of hard just because I was like, this is where you're going to spend your next 4 years. So it did feel like a lot of pressure at the time, but I just kind of was like, you know what, God's going to put me where I'm supposed to be. And I kind of trusted in that. And I really leaned on my sister and my family to kind of give me that advice as to what they think. And, they were there with me. So, like, where did you see me fit in the most? But yeah, I was getting looked at by a few other schools. And actually, UIW was the last school that I had like got invited to a camp to, and kind of got invited on a visit to. And then they were kind of like, I went to the camp. And they were like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, I guess I'm gonna come here." So, yeah, it was definitely, it wasn't an easy decision. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I walked on the campus and I was like, "Yep, that's it. That's where I want to go 100%." Because I was like, "Well, this school has this and this school has this," but I would just say like really lean on your family, those that are close to you, because at the end of the day, you're gonna be there for next 4 years, and they're gonna come watch you. So that would be my advice.
And you was right off of 281 with all that traffic.
Yeah, it sucks.
And at the time you was playing for Impact Gold, like how much influence did they give you? How much help did they give you in choosing schools or even getting looked at by those colleges?
They definitely helped a lot, like putting us in front of the schools, and like they host their own camps and invite a lot of schools out. As far as like making the decision go, like though it wasn't like they kind of like influenced me in any kind of way. I just kind of went with whatever I thought was gonna work for me. But as far as putting me in front of schools, they did do a good job of like making sure, hey there, you're going to this camp, let me text the coach. Hey, you're going to this camp, let me text the coach. So they did do a really good job of like putting us in front of coaches and letting coaches know like, hey, this is my kid, she's gonna be there.
Okay, okay. What's one thing you wish you could have done more in high school that could have made you a better college player?
Oh goodness. One thing I could have done better in high school, I think I took defense very lightly in high school. Like
Mhm.
I was like, well, I'm just a pitcher, so I'm just gonna stand here, and I don't need to do every day. I don't need to field ground balls. I'm just gonna pitch. And then I got to college, and they were like, "Okay, go field your position." I'm like, "Wait, what?" Like in high school, I just stand off to the side and I pitch, and then I'm done. So I would say like taking defense more serious and saying like, "Hey, I want to go out there. I want to get reps. I want to do every days." That probably would have helped me a little bit more, because when I got to college, they were like, "Okay, pitchers go out on the mound." I'm like, wait, we don't just stand here?
Hey, that's funny though because like you you was like I'm not here for that. I'm just
No,
here to pitch.
wait a second. You want me to go out there and field ground balls?
Like because like it's funny because it's coaches that you'll hear like hey pitcher pitch they get out of the way.
Yeah,
It's you got Pete, you got all was it 8 9 y'all 80 y'all back there. Y'all need to figure it out. She done her
yeah.
job.
And that's how we were. Like, that's how my dad was until I got to college. And I'm like, we came back and we were helping him coach. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. Pitchers, get out there. You're fielding ground balls.
Mhm.
Go to first base, go to third base, get reps. But before that, like, when I was growing up, he was like, pitchers, just get out the way. Just go do something else. You're messing up my defense.
We blaming it on him now. Just so I mean I know you played you like you said you played for Impact Gold Jackson. You was in your high school had all D1 players on it. But at the same time you going to college and these are girls that you don't really know. How different was it for you once you got to college that's like because I mean maybe you was the best pitcher on your high school team, right? One of the like you said, y'all switched out, so you had an equal amount of pitching with the Impact Goal. But then you get to college and you got maybe a pitcher there, and you're like, oh crap, like am I gonna play? You know, so
Right.
how different was it for you once you got to college? And then did your work ethic change?
Yes. I don't want to say my work ethic changed because I was always, even when I was in high school, even when I played select, it was always, my parents were always like, well, if you don't perform, you're not going to play. Like, you have to make them want to put you in the game. So, I would say I had a little bit of a harder time my freshman year because I was always the kid that would go in and close the games, or would go in when we had bases loaded, 2 outs, and we just needed a change of speeds, like, that was me. In my freshman year, that wasn't necessarily me, at least not in the beginning. So I kinda was it was kind of like, "Well, am I ever gonna get my opportunity?" Like, I know that I can do it, but am I ever gonna get the opportunity to do it? So just, like, when you do get the opportunity, you have to make the most out of it, and I know it kinda sucks because you have the kid that starts every single game, and she can go out there and walk the bases loaded and she's still going to start the next game. But I go out there and I get to throw to one batter and I give up a hit and I'm not going to throw the rest of the season. But you kind of have to take that like aspect away from it, kind of take that mindset out of it and say like you are the newbie, like you do have to prove yourself. And at the end of the day, they want someone that they can go in and count on. And so and so has been here for a year and they relied on her all last year. So yes, she is going to get more opportunities because they've seen her do it, whereas they haven't seen you do it. And so I kind of that was a little hard for me because I was like, well, why can't I just let me go in the game and I can prove it to you. And so I did a really good job though of like talking to my coach and saying like, what do you need me to do? Like, what do I need to get better at in order to get an opportunity in the game? Which is something I've never really had to do. Like when you're younger, your mom and dad call your coach or whatever. But
Mhm.
so that was something that I was like, and then I always played for my dad, so I didn't really have to talk to my coach. I'd just be like, "Hey, dad."
Yeah.
So it was a little different having to like, go into the coach's office and sit down and like have that conversation and hear like what you need to be better at. But it helped me a lot because I wouldn't have even known. Like they were like, "Oh, we need you to." I don't even remember what it was to be honest. But they were like, "We need you to do this, this, and this," and then I started working on that, and then I got my opportunity, and I did well, and I started getting more opportunities. But definitely, like speaking up was probably the hardest thing for me, just because I had never had to do it. And like sitting down with my coach and saying, "What do you need from me?" Not like, "Well, I'm good and I'm better than her, so just let me in so I can prove it." Like that's not the way you should probably approach it. So just kind of having to sit down and have that conversation was probably the hardest part about something like that I had to do in college that I didn't necessarily have to do at any other point.
Okay. How is the energy level compared in college compared to the high school level? And if you had like quiet players on your team, how did you get them up and into the game?
Yeah, so I would definitely say in college we had more of like different kind of personalities. Um, but I think you just kind of have to know who your leaders are and trust that they're
Mhm.
gonna do what they can to like bring out the best in that person. Which is something that like I kind of took on my junior and senior year. Me and my sister were kind of the people that were kind of counted on, and so you really have to adapt to everybody. It's hard when you have somebody that doesn't like to cheer to get up there and start cheering, but you also have to know that she's not just not cheering because she doesn't care how you do when you're at bat. Like she's
Mhm.
not cheering because that's not the way she shows it. Now, whenever you get out and or you strike out or you have a rough at bat or whatever and you come in the dugout and she goes, "Hey, you're okay." Like that's how you know that she's showing that she cares and that's her energy. So I think everyone always harps on like you have to cheer, you have to cheer, you have to cheer, you have to cheer. If you're not cheering, then you don't care.
Mhm.
Yes, you do have to cheer, but some people just that's just not the way they show it, and that's okay. Like some people just aren't gonna be that kind of way. Now there are like the specific athletes that like you have to talk. Like unfortunately, like your catcher, your pitcher, you have to talk. Your center fielder, your shortstop. But those are usually the kids you kind of see like be the leaders and kind of take on that role.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I would just say like knowing that everyone is going to be different and that's okay. Not everyone is going to be me. I don't care. I'll sit there and scream, I'll yell, I'll cheer, I'll do whatever. One time we had a banana costume and I put it on, started running up and down the dugout. Like I don't care. That's me. But you're not going to have kids that are like that and that's fine. You just have to know that they do care and they are showing that they actually care about what's going on and they are working hard at practice, and they will talk to you when you have a bad outing and say, "Hey, you're okay." Like, it's just knowing like everyone's different and everyone shows excitement and energy and effort in a different way.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like you said, because it's a lot of kids that they just not the up and loud ones. They like to, be back and be chill, just there for business. I mean, everybody's there for business, but
Right.
some is just more quiet business instead of the real up business.
Right.
What's the biggest difference in like the select sports now and then when you were playing?
Oh goodness. I think when I was playing, like everyone there was like one team that everyone wanted to be on, or like two teams that everyone wanted to be on. Like it was like, oh, if you're not on that team, then you're not very good kind of thing. And
Mhm.
that kind of sounds like ugh to kind of say, but that's kind of how it was. And now though, God, you have so many teams. Like you can literally pick from anywhere. But I think it's good because softball's growing, but it's also a bad thing because if somebody doesn't get their way, they can just go play on this team and they're just as
Mhm.
good. So it kind of has its pros and cons, but select is it's the same, but it's so different. Like my kids do stuff now, and I'm like, what? Like I didn't even know what that meant until I was like 14. So I will say they're a lot more grown than we are. Like they come out and like say some stuff or like they'll show up to lessons and like it's not a bad thing. But I'm like, when I was 12, I was wearing like plaid shorts that went down to my knees, like a just shirt, and then like I was wearing like basketball shorts. Like it's just so different. And that's just like in general, not even in just softball. But yeah, I would definitely say like softball has grown so much that you have so many good kids on one team. And back then it was like you had two teams that were really good and then you had like a kid that was like really good on like a random no name team. And now it's like even some of the random no name teams are still pretty
Mhm.
good. Like you're like, I've never heard of this team and they just came out here and put up a 10 spot on us. Like what's going on?
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if you've seen the new rule. I think they put a rule out for like one person in some sport about the whole JUCO for 2 years and then you go to a college for 4 years. If that rule was to be a normal rule, what do you think about that? Do you think that's a good thing for the 4 years, well, 6 year senior to be playing against a
Ah
27-year-old kid to be playing against an 18-year-old?
I think, like, at the end of the day, you're given 4 years to play college softball, and, like, that should be it. Like, you should have to make the most out of those 4 years. Even, like, the, like, COVID rule and, like, the red shirt rule, and, like, there's kids that I played with, and I'm like, "She's only, like, a red shirt sophomore?" Like, I'm already graduated. And it's like it's just so crazy to me, and honestly, like, it really does put, like, a disadvantage because it's like this girl's 25 playing against an 18-year-old, like, just the maturity alone is, like, night and day, and so I don't necessarily think it's a great role. I don't really agree with it. I think you get 4 years, make the most out of it, and whatever happens, happens, and
Mhm.
I think it's gonna kinda take away the importance of college softball and playing those 4 years because you're gonna have a next year, and you're gonna have a next year, and I think like, if you go JUCO, there's nothing wrong with that, that's just as important, but then it makes whenever you do move to a D1 program, it makes it that much better because you get 2 years there, not it's not like you're starting all the way over, and I just think you're gonna see a lot of kids kind of not that it's a bad thing, but they're gonna take the JUCO route instead of taking the Division 1 or Division 2 or Division 3 route because they know that they can play 2 years and then they still get 4 more years after that.
Yeah, I think that's just insane.
Yeah, that's
I think it's insane. And like you said, I know about the whole COVID year
yeah,
where it basically didn't count.
yeah,
Then you can red shirt. I mean, pray nobody get hurt, but if you get
right.
hurt without playing a number of what games or whatever, then you can go another year. And I think I don't know if it was a Miami or Florida football player. I think he did like 8 or 9 years in college.
Yeah, like crazy. It's just
I,
crazy.
yeah, I'm like at this point, he's the professor. He
Oh, literally, literally. I'm like, I'm 22 and I wake up and I'm like, oh God, I'm like, I couldn't imagine playing 4 more years of softball. I don't even think I could do it. Like I'd be like I tell my kids all the time, like I go down and I'm like, oh God, it takes me a minute. And they're like looking at me and there's no way I could do it. There's no way.
Mhm. What do you think about the whole NIL thing?
I think I think it's good. I think it allows athletes to kind of put out a platform that's also going to influence like younger generations. I think, to be honest, people were doing it before, so it kind of just evens out the playing field for everyone. But I think it's a really good like platform for athletes just to kind of spread their word, and it also allows like the younger athletes to see that like there's more to life than just your sport. Like they're able to talk about their parents or this
Mhm.
shirt they like or whatever, and it's kind of just gives them a way to say like I'm not only a softball player, I also enjoy doing this and this. And so I think it's a really good thing, especially for people that are trying to influence the youth and stuff like that, to kind of see that it's not all about sports. You can gain other stuff from playing sports.
Mhm. Do you think? Did you think you would be a coach after college?
I did not. Did not. I when he used to say your team, your team, your team, I'm like, whose team? You got a mouse in your pocket? Or he'd be like, our team. I'm like, whose team? Um, but I will say I think I have fallen in love with softball a different type of way. Like I love my kids. Like I love coaching my kids. And they drive me insane. Yes, they're weirdos. Yes, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And like some people are like, it takes a lot for a 22-year-old to want to hang out at the softball field all weekend with 12-year-olds. And I'm like, those are like my friends, honestly. Like I'm like, where are we playing this weekend, guys? Like it's kind of weird that we don't have practice or anything. I mean, luckily I get to see them out at lessons and stuff,
Mhm.
but I'm like, what have you guys been doing? What are you up to? Like I miss them when I'm not with them, and I never thought I would say that. But I did not think I was gonna be a coach. I was like, no, I'm done with softball. Like I've given it 21 years to softball, and I don't want to do it no more. But all it took was for me to go out to one tryout, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. And but I don't even think it was that. I think it was before that. He was like, we're gonna have this person, this person, this. I was like, okay, fine, I'm in, I'm sold. And but I wouldn't have it any other way, honestly. I really enjoy it, and I love like giving my knowledge to the kids that I coach, and even my lesson kids. Like they all like mean so much to me, and I love seeing them every day. I love seeing them like growing in softball and like getting their opportunities and doing something with their opportunities. And I wouldn't have it any other
Well, I knew for a while, you was gonna be a coach. It
way.
was before we started the video podcast. He let it rip. He let it
Yeah,
rip. You could ask him. I kind of knew, and I told him I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was coming. I didn't actually know you would have been a coach. You was gonna be a coach on the team, but I knew he was coming with the new
yeah.
age groups. I knew he was coming with the age groups. How is it coaching alongside your dad?
Oh my goodness. It is so crazy. I always tell everyone, like everyone's like, "Well, you always played for him." Like, but I think I have learned so much more from him now than when I played, because I'm like I always ask him and he gets so mad. He's like, "Just trust your gut." But I'm like, "What would you do? What pitch would you call? Would you say that I'm not a sender?" And so I think like just kind of I've never seen it from this side. Like I've never seen it from like the coaching side. I've always just seen it from the player side, and I just think it makes me like have so much more respect from him, because I'm like, "God, like you're so good at this." Like he really is, and I hate to say that because he's my dad and I never want to is, but he is. Like he's so good at what he does, and I'm like, if I can even be half the coach he is, I'm okay with it. And everyone's always like, "Well, you played with him for so long, you should know what he's thinking." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I want to know why he did what he like. Why did he think it was a good idea to send that kid, but not send that kid?" And so we have those. It's just different conversations now.
Mhm.
We are like, "Oh, should we do this? Should we do that?" And it's really cool to kind of get that side of him. And see how he truly loves the game of softball. So
How do you tell him, hey, calm it down a little bit, man? You too rowdy over there.
oh God. Well, sometimes I'm just like, you're acting psycho. Laughs. I'm like, for real, like you look like a psychopath. Like, let's just chill out a little bit. But honestly, when he gets riled up, I'm a little riled up too. So I have to like calm myself back and kind of be the cool, calm, and collected one because we all know he's gonna be crazy. And there's no stopping him. No matter what I say, he's just like, I don't care. I don't care that I look psycho. I'm like, okay. But there's not really anything I can tell
But
him.
that's him. Yeah, that's him. Imagine if he was somebody else, it probably wouldn't even be the same anyway.
No.
What's advice you would give, the kids that's, going from the start going through their recruitment process? What's some advice you would give them?
I would say keep every option open. Like just because it's a JUCO, just because it's a D3, just because it's a D2, just because it's a D1, it doesn't matter. College softball is college softball. Keep every single door open. You never know what somebody's going to offer you. Don't count somebody out just because of their record. Don't count somebody out just because of how much they've, what they do here and what they do there, and oh well, they're a JUCO and I'm getting looked at by this. Well, okay, but will you play there or will you play at the JUCO? And I think was my biggest thing. I want to play, and I think that's anybody's. You only get 4 years. Like that's the last 4 years you're ever gonna put on your cleats. So I would just say keep every door open and always weigh your opportunities and always do what's gonna be best for you. No matter how big, how small, where you're gonna go, always do what's best for you.
Yep, I agree with that. And this question, I know you're not that old, but what advice would you give your younger self?
Probably don't listen to what everyone else thinks about you.
Mm,
Because from when I was younger, it was you're too short, or you don't throw hard enough, or you only pitch, or da 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 da. Da. But at the end of the day, like that's gonna work for a team somewhere, no matter where I would have landed. But I think I always got so wrapped up in what everyone else thought, and I kind of was. Sometimes I was like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I am too short. Maybe I will never do that.
mm.
But as long as you work hard, like it the game is always gonna reward you, and we used to say that in college all the time, the game will always reward you. So no matter what anyone says about you, you just keep working hard, control what you can control, and it'll work out. And the game will reward you and you'll end up being exactly where you need to be.
Okay, my final question is, who would you like to see on the podcast? But you got to help me get your answer on the show.
Oh goodness. Probably my sister. If she would do it, I want my sister on here. But she's been like, no, no, no. But I'm like, it's not that bad. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah, tell her she's gonna be perfectly fine. Pretty sure
She
she's right there anyway.
No,
Did she
she already
should
left,
She left?
but
Oh,
I
okay.
text her right after and say, "You're gonna be on the podcast next. I already called you out, so now you have
Yeah,
to do
she got called out live on YouTube, so she don't have a choice now.
it." She doesn't. She has to do it.
Okay, that's all right. We go. Hopefully she'll do it though. It'll be good to hear from her and her side of everything she went through in the game too.
Yeah.
But and I really appreciate it. It's not often that I can, get many people on that actually went through it. You been playing for a while, and you just finished, and now you're coaching. So it's good to. Oh my, it's good. It's good.
Was that a good one or what?
Oh yeah, I already know.
I told you. I told you. Hey man, hey, keep doing what you're doing. Merry Christmas.
Same to you, man. Appreciate it. Hey, no, I'm saying since again we got Ruli. No, just
Star of the show.
yeah, trying to steal the shine. No, it's no, I really appreciate it though. Giving me your time. Somebody that lived it, been through it, and all that, from young and all the way up to now coaching the younger kids. So it's always good to hear your side of the story. So I really appreciate you giving me your time and being on the podcast.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night. Merry
All right.
Christmas.
All right. Same to you. Merry Christmas.